What is going on, guys? Every sport has a number of unwritten rules. Even if something isn't mentioned in the rulebook, athletes are expected to follow certain standards. They don't face repercussions from the league for breaking these unwritten rules, but they receive retaliation from the opposition, along with plenty of media backlash. While we think a handful of unwritten rules in sports are outdated and straight up ridiculous, it's time for teams to simply agree to scrap such rules and call it fair game. I'm Jason Biondo, and today we present the 10 most annoying unwritten rules in sports. Number 10, no shooting the puck after the whistle. In hockey, one of the most disrespectful acts is when a player shoots the puck at the goalie after a whistle. You don't see this happen too often because, well, hockey players try to be polite and follow the unwritten rule. Even in EA Sports NHL games, if a player shoots the puck at the goalie after the whistle, the computer player will automatically try to start a fight. From a goalie's standpoint, it's simply trying to protect their own territory. They hate it when a puck goes past them and into the net. It's considered taunting when a player shoots the puck at the goal when there's a stoppage in play. You see, it happens the very odd time in the NHL, and it of course leads to some scraps. I mean, I guess players should be allowed to practice their shooting, but it's still a taunt. Sometimes their instinct is to shoot, even right after the whistle. It's not like they're trying to injure the goalie or anything, but I mean, again, they're taunting, so it's wrong. I guess it's a good way to keep the netminder sharp. Number 9, don't go for it on 4th down when you're winning big. There will always be a debate about running up the score in sports, and there will never be a clear-cut answer about whether it's right or wrong. Look, we get it if you're in a kids league. If the team is winning big, you should pump the brakes. You don't want to traumatize children. But in college and in the NFL, teams should be allowed to pad their stats and run the score up as much as they want. Sometimes you want to score as many points as possible for tiebreaker purposes. And of course, players and teams are trying to cash in on incentives in their contracts and break records. The 2007 Patriots wouldn't have been such a machine if they quit trying after giving up 20 points. When a team is up big, they tend to not go for it on 4th down. They'll either just punt it or take a field goal. Is Bill Belichick the only NFL head coach who doesn't care about all these unwritten rules? Like trying to score as many points as possible. Teams shouldn't be criticized if they go for it on 4th down when they're winning big. Number 8, always dribble out the clock in basketball when winning. You basketball players were probably warned about this in high school, or even in elementary. When a basketball game is practically settled in the final seconds, you simply dribble out the clock. You don't try to pad your stats and add garbage time points. Maybe it's part of being a good sport as a youth basketball player, but it's annoying that NBA players have to follow it as well. Think of a November 2018 game between the Celtics and Nuggets. Led by young Canadian star Jamal Murray, the Nuggets defeated the Celtics 115-107. Murray had 48 points in the game, but he took one last shot at the buzzer in an effort to reach 50 points. That bothered Celtics point guard Kyrie Irving, who took the ball and threw it into the crowd. Irving would calm down after the game and congratulate Murray in a post-game interview. However, he also called it a BS move on Murray's end, and said the ball deserves to go in the crowd. Come on now, NBA players. Let the guys try to pad their stats. Why can't Murray have fun and try to hit 50? And come on, some of us play fantasy basketball here. I mean, I don't, but you know. Number 7, no base stealing when you're crushing the opponent. The MLB has a ton of unwritten rules, and one of their most notable one is this. If a team is leading by a wide margin, then they shouldn't be stealing bases. It's considered a case of being disrespectful and an attempt to run up the score. One of the more infamous incidents regarding the unwritten rule took place in a 1998 game between the San Francisco Giants and the Philadelphia Phillies. The Giants were leading by 7 runs at one point, and slugger Barry Bonds stole a base in the 5th inning. That drew the ire of Phillies pitcher Ricky Bottalico. Next time Bonds went up to bat, Bottalico hit him with the pitch, and the San Fran All-Star then charged the mound and attacked the pitcher, which led to a heated brawl between the two teams. Bonds defended his actions by pointing out that it was the 5th inning, and the game was simply not over. But Phillies pitcher Curt Schilling said there was no excuse for Bonds to do something like that. Sorry people, but Bonds has a point. We've seen baseball teams erase 10-0 deficits before. A 7-run lead isn't the most secure in baseball. It's good, but it's not secure. It's not perfect. It's not a guaranteed win. It's never a guaranteed win, actually, especially during the 5th inning. Stealing bases is part of the game. Don't like it when you're losing? Too bad. Try to throw the guy out and stop whining about it. The player should be allowed to steal bases until the final out of the game. Number 6, NHL. Don't touch the conference championship trophies. Every year, the NHL Eastern Conference champion receives the Prince of Wales trophy, while the Western Conference winner receives the Clarence S. Campbell Bowl. The trophy is initially presented to the winning team's captain, and he always follows his unwritten rule of not touching the trophy. It's believed that if they touch the Prince of Wales trophy or Campbell Bowl, the team is bound to lose in the Stanley Cup final. Now, most years, neither team touches the trophy. But guess what? There's a loser every year. Simply not touching it doesn't mean you're going to win it. But folks, the 2001 Colorado Avalanche, 2002 Detroit Red Wings, 2003 New Jersey Devils, 2009 Pittsburgh Pittsburgh Penguins and 2018 Washington Capitals touched the conference championship trophy. And they all went on to win the Stanley Cup. In contrast, the 2008 Penguins didn't touch the trophy, and they lost in the Stanley Cup. Listen, many of these players will only reach the Stanley Cup finals once in their lives. They could simply grab the trophy, hold it up, and have fun with it. Me personally, I wouldn't touch it. More often than not, touching the trophy leads to losing the final. But there are some teams that have been able to break the trend. So just celebrate. It's not a big deal. And if you lose, then hey, bad luck for you. Number 5, don't talk to a pitcher during a no-hitter perfect game. You just don't see many no-hitters or perfect games in baseball. It's the achievement of a lifetime for any pitcher. You'll notice that anytime a pitcher is in the midst of a no-hitter or perfect game, his teammates leave him alone. He hangs out by himself in the dugout. Pure silence. Nobody's talking to him. You ever wonder why? It's quite obvious. There's a superstition that if they talk to the pitcher, a no-hitter or perfect game will be destroyed. And secondly, they don't want to distract the pitcher and make him lose his focus. Really, it's just common sense. But we ask this: what's the problem with the coach or player trying to offer encouragement or advice? At any rate, it's a rule that practically every baseball player must know, even if it's not in the rule book. Again, personally, I wouldn't talk to the pitcher. Let him do his thing. Number 4, soccer. Don't celebrate goals against your former team. There's a common trend in soccer where teams refuse to celebrate if they score a goal against their old team. A famous instance came in 1974, when Dennis Law scored a big goal for Manchester City against his old Man U squad at Old Trafford. Cristiano Ronaldo even refused to celebrate a goal he scored for Real Madrid against Manchester United. Fabrizio Macaulay said he couldn't do it because it's like hurting an old friend. Now that is pure sportsmanship, just being a good all-around person. That is class right there, ladies and gentlemen. That's class. Now listen, we understand the whole being respectful stuff. That's awesome. But again, they could celebrate. It's not the biggest deal. I mean, they shouldn't feel guilty for scoring on their old team. It's their old team. Unless like their old team screwed them over, then like you really don't have to feel that bad. So stop feeling bad about scoring against your old team. Celebrate, unless you want to continue to have awesome class. It's also a good thing if you do that too. So, choose what you want to do. I don't really have a full opinion on this one, but yeah, just celebrate if you want. If you don't, good for you. Number 3, don't play hard defense on victory formations. When an offensive team lines up in victory formation in football, the defensive players usually play nice. They back off and they accept defeat. Well, the very odd time, some teams get so desperate and hope the other team will screw up. They'll bull rush through the O-line and hope to cause a fumble or something. Such a thing happened during a Los Angeles Rams-Detroit Lions game in 2016. And in another instance, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers tried doing it in a 2012 game against the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, it shouldn't be condemned. There are odd cases of quarterbacks fumbling routine snaps, and the defense is desperate. They say never quit. Well, this unwritten rule forces teams to quit. Is it just us, or is there something wrong with that? Number 2, NHL general managers don't sign offer sheets. NHL GMs always try to maintain strong working relationships. If they start to burn bridges with their peers, well, life gets a lot more difficult. And for GMs, one of the biggest cardinal sins is signing an opposing player to an offer sheet. They say general managers don't do them because they don't want bad blood. They fear that by signing an offer sheet, it will destroy their working relationship with other GMs. So they often refuse to do it. In 2007, Edmonton Oilers GM Kevin Lowe targeted the cap-strapped Anaheim Ducks and signed forward Dustin Penner to a 5-year contract worth $21.25 million. The Ducks couldn't afford to match it, so they let Penner go and accepted draft pick compensation. However, Ducks GM Brian Burke lashed out at Lowe, and it created plenty of rift among the two. After that, there were only 5 NHL offer sheets between 2008 and 2018, and every single one of them was matched. In 2019, the Montreal Canadiens signed Carolina Hurricane star Sebastian Aho to an offer sheet worth $42 million over 5 years. That one was matched quickly, but the Canes weren't the least bit happy about Montreal's stunt. We've seen so many star RFAs go unsigned, which ruins the fun of hockey. Steven Stamkos, Drew Doughty, and William Nylander are among some of the top NHL stars that were eligible for offer sheets. But the GMs wouldn't bite the bullet because of this dumb unwritten rule. Just sign a guy to an offer sheet. And if his team can't afford to match, too bad. Sign a young star and get him while you can. I guess it's good business, so I can't really knock on that, but I don't think it's a big deal. Number 1, no bunting to break up a no-hitter. There are many MLB greats who never threw a no-hitter. It's truly a special accomplishment anytime a pitcher manages to complete the task. Well, just think about how many no-hitters and perfect games would have been broken up if teams decided to bunt. But there's an unwritten rule in baseball where a team shall not try to break up a no-hitter by taking the easy bunt single. There have been some memorable cases where a no-hitter was broken up on a bunt single. In a 2017 game between the Tigers and Seattle Mariners, Justin Verlander lost a perfect game in the bottom of the 6th when Jared Dyson bunted his way aboard. Curt Schilling had a perfect game going in a 2001 game. He was just 5 outs away, but Ben Davis placed the perfect bunt to break up Schilling's flawless performance. In June 2019, MLB writers asked multiple players if bunting on a no-no is fair game. 14 voted yes, and 16 said it's against the code. Felix Hernandez argued that it's disrespectful. Elvis Andrus of the Texas Rangers said only if before the 5th inning. Billy Hamilton said you can't win if you don't score. You can't score if you don't get on base. I do it. Well, last time we checked, bunting is a smart and easy way to reach base. And the point of baseball is to try and score runs to win games, not to give the pitcher an easier chance at recording a no-no. So really, why is this still an unwritten rule? Why is there a debate about it? The MLB rulebook says nothing about bunting being illegal in a no-no situation. Are there any other unwritten rules we missed? Join me in the comment section below. Make sure to follow myself on TPS and social media. We post great content all the time. Subscribe to me on TikTok. I make TikToks all the time and they're really good. Also, we're all over Twitter, Instagram, TPS, myself, wherever go find us, YouTube, everywhere. Subscribe to TPS on YouTube. We post videos every single day. Like this video too, because if you learned a thing or two, then, give it a like. Of course, thank you so much for watching. I'm Jason Biondo. I'll see you next time.
My knee.